Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alma, and in this video I would like to present about my paper, and the title of this paper is The Impact of Tourism to British Economic Growth. So this is my background of this paper. For decades, tourism industry growth has been a major contributor to increased economic activity throughout the UK and the world. It has created jobs in both large and small communities and is a major industry in many places. It's the dominant economic activity in some communities, yet the impact of tourism to a community are not widely understood, even where tourism is growing dramatically and should be of the greatest interest or concern. Most people think of tourism in terms of economic impacts, jobs, and taxes. However, the range of impacts from tourism is broad and often influences areas beyond those commonly associated with tourism. So, about the explanation that I have explained before, I have three purposes of this paper. The number one is to know the positive impacts of tourism to British economic growth, and the second one is to know the negative impact of tourism to British economic growth, and the third is to know the British government do to keep the tourists able to visit Britain. And I hope after read this paper, the readers can know the positive and negative impacts of tourism to British economic growth, and can know what the British government do to keep the tourism and keep the tourists able to visit Britain. So this is my result that I have found in this paper. This is the positive impacts of the tourism to British economic growth. I have 3 points of these positive impacts. Number one is employment tourist attraction supplied to citizens living within the area. The second one is tourist expenditure as $36 billion to $56 billion is spent just in UK. Help to improve and develop local infrastructure and services. Some of the positive economic impact tourism has on England include the employment tourist attraction supplied to citizens living within the area. An example of this is Stonehenge and Hadrian's Wall, which only employ people who are local, as it helps to benefit the economy. Tourism can also help to improve and develop local infrastructure and service. For example, roads and highways may be rebuilt, positively impacting both the locals and tourists who come to visit. Tourism benefits the economy not only by providing employment, but also through tourist expenditure as $36 billion to $56 billion is spent just in UK. Those positive impacts make the economy of the UK is a highly developed social market and market-oriented economy. It is the sixth largest national economy in the world measured by nominal gross domestic product, or we can call it GDP. Ninth largest by purchasing power parity, or PPP, and 22nd largest GDP per capita, comprising 3.3% of world GDP. The UK is one of the most globalized economies, and it's composed of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, with more than 52% of its imports and its exports. The European Union, including its 26 member states, remains in 2020 one notable trade partner from the UK. So I have found some negative impacts of tourism to British economic growth. I have 4 points. The negative impact of tourism to British economic growth. The number one is the inflation of prices in towns that experience large amount of tourism. Number two is prices of properties, goods, and services will increase. Number three is the large number of holiday homes that are purged. Number four is inflation of prices and small companies will closing down. The negative impacts of tourism, which include the inflation of prices in towns that experience large amount of tourism. Prices of properties, goods, and services will increase if companies realize they can receive more money from tourists. Another issue that has been evident throughout England is the large number of holiday homes that are pushed but only live in one on the weekends. This leads to shops shutting down due to lack of customers and profit, which impact on the economy of the particular town. Even though tourism supplies the economy with jobs and income to the country, there are also many negative impacts, which include inflation of prices and small companies will closing down. So what the differences between Indonesia and the British in the economy? In Indonesia, the positive impacts of tourism are fixed income, improved service for communities, cultural exchange, and also company awareness of conservation. Although the tourism has a positive impact, but also tourism has a negative impact for Indonesia. There are economical instability and also economic leakage. It means the impact of tourism in British Indonesia has a difference because British Indonesia has a different culture, society, and also the geography. So what the British government do to keep the tourists comes to Britain? The government plays an important role in the tourist industry. Government agencies have to provide legislation, regulations, and control for tourism in order to ensure its tourism industry can sustain its level and compare with other tourist destinations. They have to establish a framework which ensures its tactical and strategic in the attractiveness within the tourist destination in order to increase the amount of tourist visitation. The protection of interest is another important factor of the destination area needed to be considered too. If the attractiveness of its destination decline, it will affect the numbers of tourists who are willing to visit. As a result, to maintain a stable, attractive in tourist destination, a new destination may have to be explored or artificial attract resources may be needed. I think that's all for me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.